Welcome everyone to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. This is the show where we unravel the hidden truths about your body's remarkable capabilities. I'm Ethan Foster, the guy who observes human quirks from a safe distance. Though, at my age, safe distance is any place I can see without squinting.
And I'm Alara Sky. I like to think of myself as the comedic Swiss Army knife, sharp, versatile, and always ready with a cutting remark. Today's episode is all about something near and dear to my heart: wiggling, jiggling, tapping, fidgeting. Basically everything that reminds me I'm alive in the middle of a long Zoom meeting. We're focusing on a concept called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Yes, it sounds fancy, but don't worry, we'll translate.
I'm taking wiggling, jiggling, tapping as permission to shift in my chair every 5 seconds. That's good news for my knees, although it might drive the audio editor crazy. But let's start with the basics. NEAT is all the energy we burn outside of sleeping, eating, and formal exercise. Fidgeting, walking around the house, dancing in the kitchen when no one's watching, that sort of thing.
Except when someone does see you dancing in the kitchen, then it becomes formal exercise because you end up sprinting away in embarrassment. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, these little movements add up. They keep your metabolism chugging along and stop you from going into statue mode.
So basically, we're talking about the stuff your parents or teachers might have scolded you for. Remember when they'd say, "Stop tapping your foot," or "sit still"? Apparently, that was just the sound of our health being sabotaged.
Indeed. Fidgeting is more than a nervous tic. It's your body's way of waving its hands in the air, going, "It's been 2 hours of you sitting. Do you mind if I do a little movement before we turn into a fossil?" Those restless habits are natural and, it turns out, beneficial.
So beneficial that apparently if you fidget while sitting, you can burn up to 30% more calories than if you just sit there and stare into space like an emotionally vacant mannequin.
Precisely. This means the next time someone accuses you of being incapable of staying still, you can say, "I'm not restless. I'm a metabolic powerhouse." It's a real conversation stopper.
Or conversation starter, depending on whether the other person is also tapping their foot in solidarity. Let's talk about why fidgeting seems to help with focus. I've noticed that if I'm in a meeting and my leg's bouncing, I actually listen better. But if I try to remain perfectly still, my mind drifts to, "Where did I leave my car keys?" Or, "Is it time for lunch yet?"
That's the secret. Fidgeting can keep the mind on track, especially for folks with ADHD who rely on constant micro-movements to stop their brains from wandering off. It's like the difference between trying to hold a wiggly puppy still and letting the puppy walk around and sniff stuff. One approach has a meltdown coming, the other keeps the puppy happy.
Are you saying my brain is a wiggly puppy?
If the squeaky toy fits. Now, as amusing as the wiggly puppy analogy is, there's actual science behind it. When you move, even just by tapping a foot, your circulation improves, oxygen flows, and that helps your brain stay alert. Ever tried to remain perfectly still for ages? You eventually start nodding off or daydreaming about your grocery list.
So, in other words, these little movements are the mental reboot your body sneaks in, a subtle refresh. It's the difference between your phone's battery dying in the middle of an important call and you giving it just enough juice to keep it alive.
Exactly. That's NEAT in a nutshell. Keeping your system running so you don't slump into an extended power save mode. And I love that it's so accessible. You don't need to hit the gym to reap the benefits of standing up or pacing around during phone calls.
Let's talk about the subtle ways to incorporate NEAT into everyday life. We've all heard about standing desks, but are we underestimating the power of pacing while on the phone?
Pacing, or even fidgeting in your seat, is like an undercover agent for better health. For a lot of people working at home now, it's a lifesaver. If I stand at a desk, I might do a little foot shuffle while reading emails. It keeps me awake when the content is duller than my grandmother's old knives.
Now you've got me picturing you subtly disco dancing while drafting a spreadsheet.
That's basically my daily routine. But I'm not dancing to show off. I'm dancing to keep my energy levels from flatlining. And it's not just for giggles. NEAT can be a real ally in weight maintenance. All those tiny bursts of motion burn a few extra calories that, over time, really add up.
I appreciate that. The idea of burning calories without having to carve out an extra hour for exercise is appealing. I like the concept of losing weight by, well, just not sitting like a statue.
Of course, it's not a free pass to mainline donuts at your desk. But if you're looking for a simple way to lighten the load on your waistline, NEAT is a friend you didn't know you had.
It's that friend who drops by uninvited but actually helps you tidy the living room. Let's also highlight how it helps with stress. I've found that fidgeting under pressure releases some of that tension.
You can't always go for a midday jog to blow off steam, but you can do quick desk stretches or bounce your knee. It helps the body discharge that nervous energy. Instead of bottling it up, you're letting it out gently.
Let's get into some specifics. How do we put this into practice at, say, an office job? Many of us sit behind a computer for large chunks of the day.
I suggest subtle but consistent movement. Stand up every hour, take a quick lap around the office. Go say hi to a coworker instead of messaging them. If you're on a call, can you stand and talk? If it's a longer meeting where you're mostly listening, you could do gentle leg bends or even shift your weight from one foot to the other.
But won't people judge me if they see me squatting by my desk during a team meeting?
Possibly. But if you do it confidently, they might just think you're an innovator. Plus, you can always send them a link explaining NEAT afterward, and they'll realize you were onto something. Or you could keep it discreet. There's no law that says you have to announce, I am now performing subtle lunges for better metabolic health.
Thank you for clarifying that. Now, about home life. If I'm binge watching a show, can I incorporate NEAT without losing track of the plot?
Absolutely. Do some marching in place during commercial breaks. If you still watch anything with commercials. If you're streaming, pause for a minute between episodes. Stand up, stretch, maybe do a few shoulder rolls. If that's too formal, wiggle your toes or rotate your ankles while you watch. And if you drop some popcorn on the floor, you can do a mini squat to pick it up.
I'm all for the popcorn squat. That might be the only time I voluntarily squat. I like how these ideas don't require me to change my entire routine. It's more like weaving micro movements into my day.
Exactly. Fitness doesn't have to mean stepping into a sweaty environment or scheduling a 2-hour block for the treadmill. Of course, those things are great if you enjoy them. But NEAT says, hey, you can keep healthy by just moving your body in the midst of your regular tasks.
Let's dive deeper into the calorie burning aspect. I read that the difference between two people of similar weight can come down to who's more fidgety. One person can burn hundreds more calories a day just by being restless. That's a significant number over time.
It is. And the best part is, it doesn't feel like an extra chore. It's the kind of movement you do naturally when you're engaged in something else, like smoothing the wrinkles on your shirt repeatedly or twirling a pen while thinking. But if you get intentional about it, you might see an even greater benefit.
Let's also remember that NEAT is not just about burning calories, though. It's about circulation, staying alert, managing stress. There's a holistic component to it.
Exactly. Our bodies were never meant to be motionless for hours. Even when humans first started farming, they had to walk around, bend, and shift. We're simply built to move, even if it's gentle movement.
I love how it's a built-in feature of the human condition. We're like sharks. We've got to keep moving or else.
It's about listening to that instinct. When your leg wants to bounce, let it. When you feel the urge to pace, indulge it. Then expand on that. Stand more often, walk more often, do small stretches whenever possible.
Let's also mention the role of fidget toys. I know that might sound a bit childish, but they're actually helpful. A stress ball or a small handheld gadget can help keep your hands busy.
Definitely. They also provide a focus point for the mind.
I want to circle back to something you touched on. ADHD and how NEAT can be a lifesaver for people who struggle with attention. Let's talk about that in more depth.
Sure. For many people with ADHD, movement is a form of regulation. It helps them pay attention to the speaker or task at hand. If they suppress the urge to move, they may find their thoughts drifting. Letting the body move, like foot tapping, pen clicking, gentle rocking, keeps the mind anchored.
So, in a way, it's a coping strategy. It's not just about burning calories, but also about helping the brain stay on target.
Exactly. Whenever I'm in a marathon brainstorming session, I allow myself the freedom to doodle or jiggle my leg. That might annoy certain people who believe perfect stillness equals perfect concentration, but neuroscience suggests otherwise. Movement can enhance mental clarity.
If only we could time travel and tell all those teachers who told us to sit still, that they were crushing our productivity.
Or at least we can reassure them now that we're not intentionally disobeying them. We're just biologically wired for bursts of movement. It's like the body's built-in alarm clock, reminding us that if we stay still too long, we're going to drift off.
Speaking of drifting, we should maybe steer this conversation towards some closing thoughts. If someone's listening and wants to start adding more NEAT to their routine, what's the best first step?
Do something small and manageable. For instance, set a timer for every 45 minutes. When it goes off, stand up. Stretch your arms over your head, rotate your shoulders, march in place for 30 seconds. You've just given your body a quick pick-me-up.
And for the chronic pen clicker like me, don't fight it, channel it. Click that pen, twirl it, do the silly leg bounce. Just let those micro movements be part of your day.
And if you find yourself stuck in a long meeting, take advantage of breaks. Use the restroom on a different floor so you walk the stairs. Offer to grab coffee for people so you get some steps in.
Let's talk about mental health for a moment before we wrap up. We've mentioned that NEAT can alleviate stress. Can it also help lighten one's mood?
Absolutely. Movement releases tension. Even small amounts of movement can trigger that slight endorphin boost. It's not the same as a 5-mile run, but it's better than being motionless. People often report feeling more alert and less grumpy when they're allowed to shift around and fidget.
So, in sum, fidgeting and everyday movements are your secret weapon for staying healthy, focused, and not turning into a grumpy statue by 3 p.m. It's almost too simple, but apparently it's a game changer.
Exactly. Just imagine a future where people celebrate the leg jiggler in the room instead of side-eyeing them. They'd say, "You're a champion of NEAT. Keep on jiggling, good sir or madam."
And that's exactly the kind of future I want to live in, one where wiggling is revered. Any final pearls of wisdom you'd like to share?
Just that NEAT isn't a fad or some complicated health trend. It's basically the way humans are wired to work best. Embrace the small movements, the casual pacing, the under-the-table foot tapping. Your body will thank you, and your mind might just get sharper along the way.
Well said. Thank you all for tuning in to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. We appreciate you joining us for this conversation about the power of fidgeting, micro movements, and everything neat. I'm Ethan Foster, about to bounce my leg with renewed enthusiasm.
And I'm Alara Sky, proud to say I'm fidgeting my way to better focus and a healthier mind.
Take care, folks.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe now and click the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.